The old Angel Reese just got away with a good old shove to the face of Kikiri effect.
Marina Marbury shoves Caitlin Clark to the ground after she's slashed in the eye by one player, rushed by another. Like, I can clearly see why some of y'all teams in the WNBA are just not successful, bro. Like, y'all don't know how to act. We just gonna call.
Welcome to the WNBA, where the rulebook might as well be written in invisible ink. Angel Reese throws hands, Marina Mabrey dishes out a shove, and the refs? They just sip their tea like it's a yoga retreat. But the moment Sophie Cunningham so much as inhales near someone, boom, ejected, like she brought a grenade to a layup line. Is this basketball or open MIC night for improved with whistles? Stick around. This episode of Ref Roulette is more unpredictable than a soap opera in sneakers. And believe us, it's only getting messier from here.
And all hell broke loose between JC Sheldon and Sophie Cunningham, and it is very clear the Indiana Fever, some of these girls on this team are finally fed up. Once again, WNBA, we're not talking about your basketball. We're talking about the WNBA WWE Raw circus that you got going on right now. And we all know this incident with Sophie stems from the incident that was clearly not handled correctly by the WNBA.
And then came the slap. No, not the Oscar night sequel, but a full-blown courtside spectacle starring Angel Reese in what could easily pass as a WWE tryout. One open-hand face tap, mid-possession, live on national TV. Fans gasped. Popcorn went airborne. Surely the refs would react, right? Maybe a tech. A warning? At least a raised eyebrow? Nope. Just silence. Crickets. Maybe even a gentle tumbleweed rolling by. Instead, the whistle blew for something totally unrelated. Probably a rogue shoelace infraction.
We are going through this with Angel Reese again? Another instance where Angel Reese shows a complete lack of self-control? Another instance where Angel Reese loses her temper? What is this? The second time this week this has happened? At least in the first instance, Angel Reese was somewhat justified in her reaction. Some anonymous player was pulling on her hair, which can be a very scary situation for some players in the
The crowd sat frozen, waiting for a technical, a flagrant, maybe even a league memo. But apparently, if you do it with enough flair and follow it up with a selfie, it's just called passion. Meanwhile, in an entirely different game running on an entirely different justice system, Sophie Cunningham barely settles into a defensive stance before she's getting escorted off the court like she tried to light the playbook on fire. Her crime? Breathing. Competing too hard. Or maybe, just maybe, her ponytail disrupted someone's chakra alignment.
At the end of the game, JC Sheldon is going for a fast break layup and Sophie Cunningham is running with her. And I remember in my head, like it happened in a split second and I said, oh, let's see. Let's see what happens here. Sophie commits a hard foul on JC Sheldon. Again, as JC Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion.
End of the game. JC Sheldon's on a fast break, going up for the layup. Sophie Cunningham's sprinting alongside her. And in that split second, I remember thinking, all right, let's see what happens here. What happened? Sophie commits a hard foul, wraps JC up midair, brings her down. Yes, it was physical. Yes, it was intense. But let's be clear, she didn't slam her, didn't throw her, didn't WWE her into the hardwood. It was a classic bear hug foul, not a body slam. Still, Sophie was ejected faster than a toddler at a no-kids wedding. Make it make sense. Because right now, WNBA officiating feels like it's being run by a magic 8-ball chugging espresso. Should we call that slap? Signs point to no. Should we eject Sophie for breathing too competitively? Absolutely yes. The inconsistency isn't just glaring, it's disco ball in the sun blinding. Angel Reese delivers a slap that echoed through the arena like a cliffhanger on daytime TV, and somehow, it gets shrugged off as just competitive spirit.
Sophie might have wanted a piece of JC after the Caitlin Clark and JC kind of scuffle going on, right? Then this happened. Okay? The fast break, you see Sheldon taking it. After getting a steal, Sophie wraps her arms around her. Now, this is normal, okay? In my opinion, this is normal. This is a hard foul. She just didn't want her to get a shot up on the fast break, send her to the line.
But Sophie, she committed the ultimate sin. Too much hustle. And for that, she got launched into orbit like she snuck a rocket launcher into shoot-around. It's like watching a game of chess where one player's knight gets arrested for jaywalking, while the other's queen is out here dual-wielding nunchucks. And let's not pretend this was some blink-and-you-miss-it moment. No, the cameras caught every angle. Slow-motion replays made it look like a training video titled How Not to Act on a Basketball Court. Social media went nuclear. Analysts had meltdowns. Commentators scrambled for excuses like someone sprinkled truth serum on their cue cards and they weren't ready. Yet somehow, no tech, no flagrant, not even a warning. Just a metaphorical high five from the Inconsistency Committee. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham plays possessed. Fired up. Laser-focused. Defending like rent's due at halftime. And the league treats her like she showed up wearing brass knuckles and a grudge. At this point, it feels like defending Caitlin Clark triggers some league-wide too much intensity alarm. Heaven forbid someone actually show up ready to protect the most talked-about rookie with more than polite applause and a handshake. It's not just unfair. It's laughably theatrical.
The officiating towards this one team definitely is going to have to be very closely monitored and made sure that it is called as fairly as possible. Because I think that last night, a lot happened. There were 6 technical fouls issued, there were 3 ejections, and there were 2 flagrant fouls. For one game, that is bananas. A lot of it is centered around the last 46 seconds where Sophie Cunningham hard fouls JC Sheldon. She gets ejected, JC gets ejected, does Lindsay? I think Lindsay gets ejected. And in watching the broadcast, even the broadcasters at the time mentioned if they would have just ejected Marina Mabry, this probably...
Even Marina Mabry gave Caitlin Clark a shove in a completely different game. Like she was making space in a crowded elevator. And once again, silence. Crickets. The refs must have been on a union-mandated coffee break, because the level of apathy was borderline impressive. Clark hits the floor, and the officials basically toss her a complimentary throw pillow on the way down. But when Sophie Cunningham shows loyalty, speaks up, and plays like someone who still believes in team over trends, she gets punished for it. The pattern isn't subtle anymore. It's flashing neon. Defend Caitlin Clark? Prepare to be dissected under an officiating microscope. Oppose her? Enjoy your immunity badge and a VIP pass to the next foul-free shoving contest. It's like a toddler's tea party where one kid can flip the table, throw teacups, and scream at the cookies, while another gets timeout for folding the napkin wrong. The energy. Chaotic. The double standards. Olympic level. What's the actual criteria now? Is there a secret ref checklist that says ballot box with checkmark slap opponent's face? If you're trending on TikTok, you're good. The league says it wants emotion. Fire. Storylines. But apparently, that only applies when the drama fits a pre-approved script. Because the second someone like Sophie dares to stand up, defend her teammate, and not let the nonsense slide, she's treated like she just tried to set the mascot on fire.
Why did Caitlin Clark get a technical foul? After the foul, she reacted in an unsportsmanlike manner. So, she got clawed in the eye, then got belly bumped, and then kind of tried to get away from somebody after belly bumping her, and then walked around holding her eye, and then got blindsided onto the ground. While holding one of her eyes, she gets hit on this side onto the ground, into the referee. That is responding in an unsportsmanlike manner. What is she meant to...
Let's be real. There's a reason fans are side-eyeing these games more than ever. And it's not just the missed calls anymore. It's the selective ones. Slaps that magically disappear. Shoves that get filed under oops. But the moment someone shows even a hint of having Caitlin Clark's back, red flag, eject, gone. And the fans, they are not blind. They are watching. The highlight reels are broken down like forensic evidence. And more people are starting to spot the pattern. You don't need a PhD in basketballology to know something's off when one player physically strikes another and walks away clean, while someone else gets tossed like they snuck in through the loading dock. And while we're here, let's talk about the post-game spin cycle. Suddenly a slap is a miscommunication. A shove becomes competitive energy. But when it's Sophie Cunningham, She's labeled everything from over-aggressive to too intense for doing her job, protecting a teammate, standing her ground, playing with fire. You know, actual basketball. Try explaining that to new fans. Try explaining how one player gets judged with a ruler, while another gets hit with a wrecking ball. Angel Reese made contact with someone's face. That's not a metaphor. That happened. Marina's shove? That wasn't a love tap. That was a full-floor guided tour, and yet, somehow, the silence from the whistle is louder than ever.
And son, hold a brawl in a basketball game breaks out. This was something. Caitlin Clark, without question, gets raked across the face. I think she gets poked in the eye, but it's difficult to tell.
If you're the Indiana Fever, you cannot stand by and let that happen. They need to make it clear to the officials. If you're going to let this happen, then we're going to stand up for our player and make a mess of the game, and you're going to have a big mess on your hands. So you need to stand up for this. You need to do something about this.
You've just learned with definitive data and beyond question that Caitlin Clark controls more than half the audience.
Both incidents barely registered with the refs. No whistles, no warnings, not even a raised eyebrow. But Sophie, she steps on the court radiating, "Don't mess with my team energy," and suddenly she's banished like she hexed someone's sneakers. This isn't justice. It's improvisation. And not the good kind. More like a bad open MIC night where even the basketball seems confused. You can almost hear it mutter, "Wait, wasn't that a foul? No. Oh, we're just vibing now? Cool." And that's the core issue. Consistency has officially left the chat. WNBA officiating feels less like a rulebook and more like a spiritual practice, vibes-based refereeing. Foul calls decided by aura readings, Instagram followers, and who nailed the best camera angle. That's not just a bad look, it's a credibility crisis. Because when fans start clocking patterns that make zero sense, trust evaporates.